Well, hi everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I'm just finalizing another very busy and active client visiting season. I've been to nearly a dozen states working with a lot of landowners this year, helping them increase their hunting success. I get the opportunity to see just about every kind of habitat these majestic whitetails call their home. Every property I get to visit often teaches me another nugget of information about whitetails and how they adapt to their existing habitat and hunting conditions. I was able to spend some great times together with several wildlife professionals while assessing and then making habitat improvements to a great Upper Peninsula property this past December. For every property that I visit, I spend from 1 to 3 days in front of my computer creating detailed long-term habitat plans, voiceover videos, and guidelines. And not to mention the hundreds of hours I spend driving to and from 4 to 5 dozen landowner destinations throughout the habitat season. However, I still manage to grab some time here and there to monitor and assess my current habitats and contemplate some future improvements and new design concepts into my own property. This spring, I'm making some changes in my forage plantings, my wooded areas, and implementing new design layouts of my destination plot, new food plot trails, while rotating summer annuals in and out of production and reducing my minimum tillage and herbicide impacts here on the farm, while improving my hunting and deer predictability movements. One of the major plans I have for this property this year is I'm going to take my large destination food plot, which I've had in soybeans and or fall annuals, which would be turnips, brassicas, crimson clover, that sort of thing, pretty much for the last 8 to 10 years. And I'm going to completely plant it all with Seclusion 360, 60% chicory, 40% clover blend from Northwoods Whitetails. Currently, I've got a box blind right here, a Banks box blind, and I have over the years just watched the continual growth of everything from the trees that I planted to the native shrubs, watched how the deer are bedding so much closer to this food plot than they used to, and the deer concentration in this area and around this plot has put a lot of pressure on the browse and the food source that I'm growing. And also will take the tillage pressure and herbicide pressure off of this section for the next 4 to 5 years. I've got a small little winding food plot that goes through a stand of conifers right here that I'm going to connect and plant with Seclusion 360 here, and then I'm going to take this area, which typically is going to be has been planted in Roundup Ready soybeans, and I'm going to plant it in a mixture of Roundup Ready corn and soybeans. I've got a large yellow delicious apple right here, and I've got a Streamco willow here, and then later in middle of August or so I will brush hog these round surrounding trails right here and overseed with cool season annuals based on everything I have observed that the deer like to do. Now this darker orange color represents the switchgrass separator that I have between the soybean and corn food plot, and I've got an existing Seclusion 360 clover blend here, and I added this section to it last year, about mid-May to early June. I used to have a Banks blind sitting right here observing a small little hourglass food plot and watching some really good deer travel routes, and I decided to move that blind out of here because I just found it pretty frustrating to hunt out of just because it is a box blind and the deer would literally sneak up on me and be underneath me before I even had a moment's notice, basically because of the thick stem density that it was in. So last year, my good friend Randy Vanderveen and I took down this blind, loaded it into a trailer. I drove it basically through these areas like this, down through here, right up across this gap that I have in my switchgrass, over here, stopped the trailer, backed it in, and we stood it back up right here. And I had a lot of fun with this location last year, being able to look out my window where my stairway is and watch all the activity down this food plot, because this is switchgrass and this is switchgrass, and to be able to watch this about 3.5 to 4 acres of switchgrass here and the food. And it also was a great location for taking does out of. I shot 3 does out of this location last year, and a couple of does. You can't see it, but I've got a blind up in here, and I kill quite a few does up here by the house. But what you're going to see is I'm going to have Seclusion 360 that winds all the way through here into some cool season annuals with some corn and beans as structure, back into that Seclusion 360 where deer can move all the way down through here. And I have cleaned out trees and cut back brush. This will all be planted, and so the deer are going to have a continuous food plot trail that they can follow from one location to the other, and it should work really well as far as different stands that I use for different times of the year: early season, pre-rut, rut, and post-rut. And I'm really looking forward to it. So I think as the season goes on, I'm going to update you with some videos. You'll be able to see just how awesome this layout is going to work. Now, I've done all kinds of hinge cutting and timber stand improvements all around the food plots farther back into the timber. And one thing I do in late August is I mow an area that you see right here, just so I can have some archery shots and late season gun hunting opportunities on harvesting does in this area as well. So be sure to watch for my updates as I work on this project all summer into early fall. And I think it's really going to be a neat project to follow along with. Good luck and good habitat.